Today in the crypto space, we see the market still dipping to lower levels. Bitcoin down approximately 6% below the $100,000 mark, and we have Ethereum dropping 10% and bringing down the rest of the altcoins down with it. We have AVAX, Polkadot, Doge, Chainlink, and many other projects here dipping down to much lower levels. And the question is, when are we going to be buying this dip? In today's video, I want to talk about the general market. I want to use Bitcoin as a leading indicator, but more importantly, I want to talk about one project, a quick update on a deep dive that I just did on Peaq. So you know what? Let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins, looking for opportunity. Whether we go up or down, bearish or bullish, it doesn't matter. All we want to do is stay one step ahead of the market so that we can capitalize on any of the volatility. And if you appreciate the strategy, subscribe to the channel, click the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, including the live streams at 8 p.m. EST, where we talk about crypto news and price action. Guys, if you have any projects you want me to cover here on the channel, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. You can hit me up on the socials. The links are in the description. Better yet, guys, join the Discord. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. The best part is it's absolutely free. All right, guys, let's begin. Let's see what's going on here with this market. We do see a bit of misfortune given the fact that the market cap is falling down approximately 10%. And what's even more important here is that the trading volume is increasing. So unfortunately, seeing these two parameters basically showing, an opposite correlation, falling of market cap and increase in volume, gives you that sense that the market is currently selling off and there's participation behind it. It's not a good look. It's not a good look. However, guys, we've been preparing for this. Guys, I've been talking about this pullback for a good while. I've been preparing for this pullback for a while now. Approximately about 3 to 4 weeks ago, I made it very clear that it was time to get risk off. And in fact, the main objective should have been to prepare for dips such as these ones where you're collecting and raising capital. Because capital right now is going to put you in a position of strength. The ability to buy dips and accumulate at retracement levels. Retracement levels is the best place to buy capitulation events, to buy liquidations, to buy at the lowest prices possible before we go up for another parabolic run to the upside. So guys, here on the channel, that's what we look for. Okay, we look for opportunity. We're not buying tops. We buy bottoms. We wait for those opportunities patiently, and then we execute. Bitcoin at the current moment is giving us a lot of indications of a further dip. The 4 hours getting somewhat oversold. Of course, we'll talk about Bitcoin in a second, just using it as a leading indicator for what we could be doing in the altcoin market for sure. And then I want to give you a quick update on Peaq, because obviously a lot of people yapping about Peaq in the last little bit, but the price is what's more important. Are we getting to a level where we can put a bit of confidence in a structure where we can get in at, again, from a position of strength? We'll talk about that in a second. Let's quickly scrape to the top 100, get a sense of what the market is looking like today, and then we'll get right on it. We can see that everything's dipping still here, guys. Lots of red. I hate to celebrate this, but if you're a true bull, you would be happy right now. And that's the thing. Most people think that red days are for bears. It's not the case. The bears are happy because, of course, if they're shorting and this and that, they're celebrating. But we are going to prepare for our celebration. In order to celebrate hard as a bull, you got to take advantage of this, right? This is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be packing bags here so that when we are in the green, we can celebrate even harder than the bears. So ultimately, we need to think how the bears think. We need to get into their shoes. We need to be a bull in bear clothing. Unfortunately, that's the way we got to play this game, right? So BNB coming down, Solana coming down, everything's coming down, guys. We have some random anomalies, at least going sideways, right? Hyperliquid, okay, doing pretty good. BGB, there's a bit of rumor that it's propping up its own price, but so what? It's doing its thing. That's fine, whatever the case is. We see a little bit of sideways, here and there. MNT, Mantle, kind of going sideways. Mantra kind of going sideways as well. That's pretty good, but it is down approximately 10% in the last 7 days. Could it come down further? Maybe. A lot of bullishness. It did run up pretty hard in the last little bit, so maybe not too much. You know what I mean? Athena's doing okay, but I'm talking about random projects, even virtual. Look, it's doing not bad. It's down 20% for the day. But guys, some of these other altcoins, if you look at the last 7 days price action, some of them are down 30%. 30, 29, 20%, double-digit dips everywhere. The only one right now that is looking pretty green is Movement is doing pretty good, got a bit of an expansion, but still, guys, I wouldn't be buying into a divergent or a price action, a random pump out of nowhere from some project that obviously showing some strength while the rest of the market is rolling over. It's not a good thing. You're buying into like a divergence here, right? So be careful out there. Look at this market, guys. The most bullish projects that were doing so well, Beam and Pith and so many projects are coming down to great areas of opportunity. Consider it, guys. Definitely consider it. All right, guys, let's take a look at what's going on with Bitcoin. I know you're here to talk about charts, so let's begin by talking about Bitcoin. Bitcoin, at the end of the day, what is Bitcoin doing? Bitcoin is dipping, guys. It is bringing some fear in the market, and of course we take full advantage of those scenarios. Emotional events are where we can come in as traders and take full advantage. But the question is it just the beginning, or are we going to get more emotional here and come down to much more lower levels? Let's take a look at this in a little bit more detail. So, ultimately, that, I'm very, very patient, guys. I'm disciplined, very patient. All into this grind to the upside with low volume. I was very, very patient, waiting for an opportunity. Now, to be honest, the reality is that Bitcoin is still in trend. The structure is still bullish here. We got to understand that although we are dipping down in a very express type of way, not a good look, obviously, the reality is we're still in an uptrend. We didn't break trend. So we got to come to terms with that. However, if it does break trend, I'm expecting to come down a little bit more. Okay. There is a bit of a target right around, I would say, if we can get to about $87,500, maybe a little higher, maybe don't come down that low. Guys, I am going to go all in. That is my opportunity. Now, I feel like front running wouldn't be a bad idea, getting in a little bit earlier and DCAing slightly above it, maybe starting at about 90 and slowly DCA over a few days. That wouldn't be that bad. And nonetheless, after that happens, once I'm all in, I'm going to get back on it and raise more capital. Guys, just in case, because I don't know if we're going to hold. The reality is we can see the price come down a little bit further. If it comes down to 77,000, close, a few levels, some empty spaces of volume gaps and all that kind of stuff. Guys, we could definitely see a lower price here. But I am hopeful that we are in a bull run that is going to cause these retracements to be shallow. But, a 0.382 right around this level, 0.382 Fibonacci, dip, breather is healthy. Pull back, let's buy, let's get going again. Higher highs and higher lows, here we come. And that's what I want to take full advantage of. Now, if you look at the dailies, really the price action is not giving you too much. What I want to keep in mind is that the daily momentum is still shifting to the downside, guys. We're getting follow through here, as you can see. Let me just make this a bit bigger. You can see that the purple line is still in a downtrend. And it's not a good look, the overall trend here. And I did identify this scenario really early on as a pivot point, that it could be very possible. The volatility, the orange line is still pushing down. I don't like it. The expansion, the green expansion, it peaked right into here. It looks like it's dipping really, really quick. I'm not really that bullish at this current moment on the daily, unfortunately. That's the reality. And we also have the trend oscillator. EMA is facing down, red histogram bars. We have class A bearish divergence. Everything about this currently leads me to believe that we're going to get more downside on the daily. Now, what could happen on the daily is that we could expect volatility on lower time frames, and that's something that you got to understand, is that we could get bearish and bullish on the 4 hour more frequently, right? And you can see that we're all of a sudden entering a very oversold state. We'll talk about price action in a second, but you can see on the 4 hour we are oversold. We already got the mean reversion that I spoke about live last night, guys. If you joined me live last night, we talked about mean reversion and the whole theory behind it, and we got that mean reversion play early this morning. We popped to the upside, and guess what? We almost touched the 200, the moving average here, the yellow line, and expressed to the downside once again. And it happened almost exactly like I said, that we would get a bit of a jitter right into here in the volatility line and come right back down. And guys, we did it. Now that we're oversold, now the party begins for a trade on the 4 hour. The only thing is that we would need is a few more confirmations, because the expansion is still pushing down. I got a red dot suggesting confluence to the downside, so I'm not crazy about it. And we just entered oversold conditions, right? So I want to see a bit more, and I would love to see some confirmations, not only on the momentum, but also on the trend oscillator. Right now, the trend oscillator EMAs are facing down with red histogram bars. I don't like it. I'm not crazy about that. And then obviously price action. Now look at what's happening here with the price action. I'm going to kind of tidy this up a little bit to make it a little bit more valid. You can see that ultimately this dip down came pretty hard right into here. It touched the 200 EMA on the 4-hour. Do we respect this diagonal, or do we just continue breaking down? The likelihood is if we start breaking down below this diagonal, guys, we're going to probably break down to about that target that I was talking about, 87,000 and change, more or less. And that's where I'm going to start getting interested. Now, we could still get a bounce here. It's very possible. I could expect that to happen. However, we can get back to the heart line, which is usually, the heart line is usually considered this dotted line right in the middle of a channel. That's called the heart line. If we do get a bit of relief and we get a bounce and we get rejected on that heart line, it's not a good look. Okay, just keep that in mind. It's a lower high, confirm lower high, and then a lower high comes down and we start looking for lower lows, and eventually again coming down to this target. Now we have a bit of theory here that Bitcoin, and the markets in general can go on a bit of a hiatus, in the sense that we are getting into the holiday season where a lot of people might just take some time off on the markets, and we could see low volume. We could see very low volume, and that means that the market's going to be a bit volatile for those individuals that are entering. But the reality is there's no conviction, and that's a very difficult moment to be trading in. So be careful out there over the holidays. Enjoy your holidays, guys. Don't be losing any money over the holidays. Just relax, but ultimately keep an eye on the charts, right? Because if there's opportunities, guys, we're going to take full advantage of them. And of course, I'm going to come out with videos. Videos are still coming out during the holidays, just in case we get those opportunities. And again, looking at the way the 4 hours looking on the oversold state, once we get there, we could get a bit of a reversal. Just keep in mind that we just entering oversold. And if you backtest this idea that I'm just going to share with you right now, you'll notice that when we see the purple line get oversold, okay, so let's hypothetically say this level, when we drop below the 30 with the purple line, that is where we get the majority of the dip. So let's look at this level, what happened here. Let me just scooch up so you can see right into here. And this is the 4 hour. Obviously it's not going to be crazy, but you can see that every time we get into a really oversold state below the 30, that is usually where we get the bigger of the dips. Now it's a lot more evident on the daily because obviously it's more aggressive, but you can see that once we get down here and oversold below the 30, that's where we get the more aggressive dips, right? Look at this, more aggressive dip right into here. Every time more aggressive. That's usually where we get the bottoms right into here, the nice bottoms right into here. So what about if we spend some time on the 4 hour down there? And what about if the daily gets down there, guys? Because the daily is right now entering the chop zone, just as you mentioned. Look at this, it's just coming down to the 50. Still, we can go sideways a little bit. Going sideways on the daily means that the 4 hour could get a bit of a bounce still, or maybe go sideways as well and see a continuation down. I think to summarize, in my opinion, Bitcoin's still risky to really feel convicted that it's going to get a bounce soon. I don't see it happening, unfortunately. Okay, so I'm going to be very, very critical here in the next little while, as I want to take full advantage. But it doesn't mean that I'm not going to deploy capital. It just means that I'm going to ensure that I have capital reserve just in case things get worse than they already are, right? Because really, we didn't do that bad. Right, Bitcoin's down a little bit percentage-wise. Let's see where we're at, and we see some of the altcoins down approximately 25 to 30%, but Bitcoin is down 10%. That's not much. Okay, I'm expecting a little bit more, minimum maybe 15. I think 20 would be healthy, because that's a pretty much the average dip in a bull run that we've seen in previous cycles. So I would be okay with that, and that would probably coincide with these bottoms that I'm suggesting right around here. You can see 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 is all already down here. You get my point, right? So I'm okay with being modest. I'm not expecting absolute turmoil, but this is enough to expect a lot of these altcoins to dip hard and a lot of fear to enter the market. And we'll be buying that fear. All right, guys, let's take a look at Peaq. So if Bitcoin dips like that, what's going to happen to Peaq? That's the biggest fear, right? Is that altcoins will come down harder. And when you're looking at price action of Peaq, and you can see that there's not a lot of data here. What's very important is that we couple it up with fundamentals. And this is why I did do a deep dive on Peaq. Guys, join the Discord. I got all the information on that deep dive. I also have it on the YouTube channel. If you go on the YouTube channel, let's see if this thing could load quick enough. I do have that deep dive right here 4 days ago, talking about all the necessary data that you require to make critical decisions about Peaq. But ultimately, price action wise, there's not much. Why? Because it's a new L1. It's a new new project, so we're going to have limited amount of data. But with the amount of data that I was able to collect on this price chart, you can see that it wasn't looking good with this divergence. And I'm happy that I was able to identify this and realize that the opportunities are yet to come. Now, I do notice that right now the price action is hesitating right around this level. This level was defined 4 days ago when I did do the deep dive. In fact, it might have been defined earlier when it was requested on the live stream. But regardless, this level is still very valid. Now, there are levels below, and we got to be very clear about those because they're very liquid heavy in comparison to the other levels, right? We got an empty volume gap right here. We got some consolidation that brings you support with volume. We got obviously what we're dealing with right now, that little dip in volume as well is a very psychological, emotional level. So once we look at these, we're like, okay, this is not a bad zone, and this is not a bad zone. Both zones are pretty good. 40 cents, more or less, 50 cents. These are not bad. We're talking about a matter of 10 cents, right? We're nickeling and diming here. But if you look at momentum here on the 4 hour, did we get oversold to give us the confidence to buy right now? For me, that's the biggest concern, because the risk that you take to get in right now is that we do get oversold. But the risk you take not buying right now is that we get support on this double bottom and that we get support on this horizontal and we bounce right here in the next couple of days and see this thing run. That's the concern. Now, if you start looking at, EMAs, it looks a little bit indecisive right here. There is a bit of divergence. As you can see, this expansion is weaker than the previous, suggesting that, the price is making a lower low, of course, but this expansion right into here is not as strong as the previous. That is a little bit of divergence here, Class A bullish divergence. But the momentum in the chop zone like that, that's a Class C bullish divergence, double bottom on the momentum and a lower lows on the price action, Class C, so a bit there. If you look at the expansions in the background, the red expansions, this one is much bigger than this one. So even expansions are showing us that, maybe there's a bit of divergence. That would be Class A bullish divergence, given the fact that it's not really a double bottom on this price action. In fact, it's a lower low. So Class A bullish divergence. So we got divergences. However, the momentum didn't get to a state where we were really oversold below the 30, where we can confidently say, at least we bought in oversold conditions and we're not taking the chance that it could get there. That is the issue. Now, if we start looking at the daily, just be clear on the daily. Daily doesn't have a lot of data, but we are oversold in volatility. Momentum stuck in the chop zone at the current moment, and you can see these levels are screaming to me, buy, buy, buy. So what we should do in this case is understand that trying to catch a bottom is also very risky because you could be left on the sidelines, but at the end of the day, you also want to have capital to buy the dips and take full advantage of other opportunities that may come around. The thing is that if Bitcoin dips further and breaks below that upward sloping channel that we're talking about and comes down to about 87,000, maybe a little bit higher, that's fine, right around that area. Guys, you could bet that Peaq is most likely going to fall to 41 cents, maybe a little lower, hunt some liquidity. We have a bit of a volume gap in here. You get my point. We have the 200 EMA here on the 4 hour, right around 42. There's a lot of confluence in this level to suggest that the price could come down to this level. So what's the best way to play this? The best way to play this is level by level or DCA. 2 shots. That's what I would do. Buy some now and buy some down here. That's it. Now, here you can go in a lot less heavy, and you could double, triple down in this level, or you can do 50% here, 50% there, and be done with it, and your average entry being smack in the middle. Once we come down here, we get some support and start bouncing. You'll be in the green. You won't care. We'll break previous highs. Of course, that's what's going to happen. Now, if you look at the tokenomics and you look at all the fundamentals, there's some issues about tokenomics, given that, new projects do get unlocks, and we have to be clear about that. Just understand that the deep dive will definitely clarify a little bit of this tokenomic, constraint or the lack no, there's no lack, and the reality is the transparency is good. The issue is that we have to understand that unlocks are going to happen, guys. The devs, the early investors, they're going to get paid. The thing is, in the bear market, this thing's likely to dip because of that, right? A lot of people are going to get tokens unlocked during this moment. So we got to be real. Are they going to be selling now? No, they're most likely going to start to sell when the profits are higher, not at the current moment. We already got a bit of a sell-off. It could be that the market is done selling selling off. Let's take a Fibonacci, swing low to swing high. You can see that we can come down to the 0.5 fib, even the golden pocket 618, which is very confluent with this structure right here looking left. So we got 40 cents, and again, you know, 0.382 right around this level, 0.5 fib right around the 50-cent zone where we are right now. Both good zones to DCA. So it's either you get into big bags at the current moment, you put a stop loss underneath, get yourself self stopped out, and recumulate down here, right, at lower levels, and that way you can accumulate a lot more tokens that way, coins that way, and make up for the loss on the bounce. Or DCA, like I mentioned, some here, and wait and be patient, because ultimately we could come down a little bit more. DCA has its thing. DCAing is basically you commit, and once you commit, you have to be committed and be patient, and that's part of the DCA strategy. But also you have to have an invalidation. The problem is that there's no clear invalidation here. The reality is invalidation's already down at these levels. So you're not buying into a nice healthy structure, but this looks like the beginning of something. I'll be honest, right into here. You know, we make a higher low, we go up for a higher high, we go, and you can see this eventually maybe turning into a nice rounded bottom. And if it doesn't, we have a plan to come down here again, golden pocket, 40 cents. So this is it. We plan, guys. We prepare. You psychologically prepare, you economically prepare, and it's all about being ready to go when the magic happens. What are you going to do about it? When we dip, are you ready? And make sure you're basically ready to deploy when the time comes, because if not, you'll miss out, guys. This could be the last few dips before we actually continue into that altcoin season. Guys, if I've offered you any value in this video, do the channel a massive favor, slap the like button. It does really help out with the algorithm. If you want to follow me on the socials, the links are in the description below. Feel free to join that Discord, guys. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. The best part is it's absolutely free. Take care, guys. Have a good one. See you tonight at 8 p.m. EST. And don't forget, buy the dip.